From web wings to symbiote tendrils and web surfing, here are 29 insane gameplay mechanics that have just been introduced to us from Marvel's Spider-Man 2. So to take things from the top, it's been officially confirmed now that we are going to be getting an expanded map which now includes Brooklyn and Queens, which provides a much larger landscape for gameplay and specifically traversal. This map is also going to be much more detailed compared to the original game, as we have much more civilians doing more activities, docks with so much more life, and even the leaves and the trees look so much more better than the original game. It is amazing how they've managed to expand the map so much and be able to detail the city even further as well. Then the black suit is revealed to us, which we first see covering Peter's advanced suit. So this could mean one of two things. We can choose to toggle between the black suit and the normal suit, just like in some games like Web of Shadows, or this is the first time Peter is actually getting the suit, which I find unlikely because of how his voice has already changed so fast. His quips are a lot more serious, and it looks like he's already mastered all his symbiote abilities. Speaking of which, it looks like we now have an ability wheel accessed through both of the bumpers, giving us the ability to use more suit powers. Some examples of this were shown, such as the symbiote grab, symbiote ball, and symbiote tendrils, all being used to take down enemies. There are more smaller mechanics though, other than the suit powers, as it looks like we are also going to be getting more air combat mechanics. We see Spider-Man sliding under a person mid-air, which I don't think we were able to do before in the first two games, as well as following up with a straight up slam, which I think is something more tied to the symbiote itself, because that definitely looks very brutal. It now looks like we will be getting a parry system in the game, where the symbiote can form a shield in front of you to block attacks, which provides more options in combat, as before the only way to avoid attacks is by dodging. Spider-Man is also shown to be using some sort of symbiote powered kick, which is a new move, as well as being able to yank enemies to the side. Before, we were able to yank enemies down onto the ground, as well as being able to yank them up to trigger air combat, but now they've added the same mechanic to both sides, which allows us to knock enemies into each other or into the walls, as we see being used in the demo. We also see quite a lot of more finishers being used, which is expected, but I want to point out the impact of these finishers. In Marvel's Spider-Man, a lot of finishers look like they didn't fit in and were just thrown in there. They fixed this in Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, where the finishers as well as the traversal gave Miles his own identity and character, as the moves were more fluid and respected his young age. But now, these finishers look absolutely brutal. Just seeing Peter slam enemies with tendrils, as well as full force kicking a guy in the balls countless times, shows the darker side of the story and how he's going to get more corrupted by the symbiote, and you have to respect the efforts the team went through to make that change be felt in the gameplay. We then see our next biggest mechanic, which is switching character between Peter and Miles. Now, one thing about this though is that the scene switches almost immediately, when it could have been so much better to have it zoom out of the streets and show us a city-wide view and zooming across the city into Miles' perspective. But I think that still may be the case here to switch characters. They just potentially cut out that whole cutscene because they don't want to reveal too much in this demo, but also because they don't want to show the full size of the map just yet. But now we're at Miles, who we see doing a brand new move called a super slingshot, which catapults you across the city with great speed. This is vital because with the insane size of the new city, it will be very difficult to traverse with the old web swinging mechanics. Now, these may be stationed at certain points across the city to allow for faster travel, but notice how it says it's a super slingshot. I wonder if there will also be a normal slingshot which catapults you to a shorter distance compared to the super one, and that move can be performed at more areas around the city. We then get introduced to web wings, which again helps so much with traversal around the huge map, and it looks like there are certain paths around the city that may have higher gusts of wind because of the buildings, which you can harness to glide through much quicker. And if they do ever introduce a daytime and weather cycle in the free play for Marvel Spider-Man 2, then these paths could have the potential to change throughout the city depending on the weather. And a little detail to point out is that Miles gives a reaction after activating the wings and starts gliding. Now, if you pay attention to the traversal in the other games, they are mostly very quiet, so maybe they have actually implemented Miles and Peter giving a reaction to the air tricks and movements we do. While swinging to the destination, Miles also asks Ganke if he still has the hunter drone that they hijacked, so this could potentially be a tool we can use to aid our quests in this game. We see it do a lot of things like tracking enemies and giving Miles a heads up, but one thing that really caught my attention was how Miles used it to water ski or web surf, which I don't know if it's just restricted to this mission alone, or if we can actually call the drone anytime throughout the game and use it to surf across the river. Oh, and by the way, if you are enjoying this video so far, then make sure to subscribe to the channel for more Marvel Spider-Man 2 content just like this one. Now we get a demo of the stealth in this game, specifically from Miles, where we can see we are now going to be getting web lines, which we can place and walk across to achieve more perk takedowns. This will not only be very useful, but also adds a bit more problem solving to the game, as not every location will now come with beams to rest on and do perch takedowns, but you have to place them and figure it out yourself. We also see Miles doing a double takedown, which is massive for stealth. I've always hated trying to split up the two random people huddled together. But obviously, you're doing two takedowns at once, so this better consume a focus bar to complete or something, because otherwise this will become very, very overpowered. We also get a new gadget where you throw down on the ground and it webs up nearby enemies, which is similar to the trip mine in the first game, but tailored to webbing people together rather than onto the walls. Miles's new bioelectricity seemed to be very overpowered now too. I don't know if you saw, but he electrocuted one person, which then passed to two people either side of them, and they were instantly knocked out. We don't really know if this is the new normal for Miles's powers now, or if you can somehow switch between his normal powers and these upgraded ones. Next up, we get shown a boat chase, confirming that the river is now a playable part of the map, and also further displaying how much more detailed and life is in the city. And this could open up the potential for river crimes, where we have to chase these hunting parties on jet skis and boats, as well as maybe even getting to save people from ferries and so on, which is a new layer of crime systems for the free play. Then Peter takes over, showing how he also have the web wings, but he also glides through a train carriage, confirming how we are going to get more of these traversal points scattered around the map where we can swing and even glide through now. Then while Miles is surfing on the land, we also see Peter swinging around with his tendrils, which shows not only how he's becoming more reliant on the symbiote rather than using his webs, but also a hint at other abilities we may be able to unlock throughout the game as he starts getting more corrupted by the symbiote. Speaking of which, at the end when Miles says that the lizard has big teeth and Peter responds saying so do I, which obviously means that Venom is taking over him and saying that he also has big teeth too. But you can also visually see this change as Peter's eyes transform from being smooth to slightly jagged, just like how the Venom eyes look, which means that this suit is going to evolve further throughout the story as Peter trusts the suit even more, unlocking more powers and abilities and making him more ruthless. And I just want to get this off my chest. Imagine that Eddie and Harry never became the host of the symbiote. Maybe the Venom that was teased in the first trailer is actually Peter after being bonded to it for so long and has completely transformed him. It would be like the biggest plot twist ever and would be an amazing way to witness Miles trying to save his beloved mentor, and also as a way of keeping Venom as a dark villain while also making him a playable character, which many people want. Anyways, I got a little bit sidetracked there, but that was every gameplay mechanic and feature that was displayed in the showcase, and let me know in the comments which mechanic you are most excited for, and I shall see you guys in the next one.